Taking care of your body has to be personal, it has to be seasonal, and it has to be sustainable. Personal is that what works for you may not work for me. Seasonal is your needs will shift as your body hormones and metabolism shift. So you got to listen and meet the needs. Later always comes, and it usually comes as a crisis. And I've heard of people having sudden heart attacks, people getting diabetes, people having to be shaken to start taking care of their health. We worship our minds. We think our brilliance is what keeps us in the game. We think what we keep doing is what keeps us in the game. And we forget that the health of our body is what makes that brilliance possible. Taking care of your earthly container is not optional. It's not a luxury. It's not the last priority. It's the foundation of everything else. Welcome to The Inner Edge, a podcast about leadership, self-mastery, resilience, and reinvention. Let me ask you something that might stop you in your tracks. If your body could hand you a report card right now, what grade do you think you'd get? Not the one you'd like to believe, but the real grade. Because your body is your earthly container. It's the one we've been given and the one we don't get to trade in. It's one. And yet for so many people that I work with, it's the last thing they attend to. And that's what this episode is about today. We're going to get real. We're going to get real about what happens when we neglect this container and why so many of us keep putting it off and thinking that taking care of our health and taking care of our body is the last on the priority list. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about what it really looks like in the messy reality of our busy lives to begin honoring and caring for the only body, the only container we'll ever have. And remember, you don't get to trade it. I coach, and those of you who listen to me on a regular basis know this, that I coach executives, I coach entrepreneurs, I talk to change makers, experts, people with more responsibilities than hours in a day. I mean, rock star, superstar people, high achievers. And still the stories that I hear repeat themselves about this topic. So let me start with, and this one is a refrain because I've heard this one over and over again. One leader I work with jokes about the 30 pounds he's gained since he took the top job. So he became the top executive in this large company. And he says, wow, and that came with, it's like, instead of the freshman 10, it's the freshman 30 for executives. And his calendar is so full, he tells me, that food and fitness aren't even on the radar. It's like, I've surrendered to the decline that I just don't have time. I'm traveling, I'm eating out, I'm eating all this bad stuff, I'm going out with clients, I'm doing stuff. These 30 pounds, they're probably going to multiply. And I know I don't feel good. I know this isn't me at my best, but I just can't deal with it. I'm busy. Another client, this is a senior leader. She's a mom, someone who appears to have it all together, tells me, hey, the only comfort I really have is food. And she tells me that with guilt and with resignation, saying, hey, I don't know how to get my act together when it comes to taking care of my body and my health and eating more healthy, because that's really her goal. With her, it's not so much the weight, it's she's eating all this horrible comfort food that is not good for her body. And then there's the man that I talk to whose doctor says it's time to lower your cholesterol and start with your lifestyle changes. Your cholesterol is way up there. You've got to pay attention to this. And smart, high-achieving, data-driven person, what's his answer? Just give me a pill. I don't have time for lifestyle changes. Sound familiar? It's different people, different stories, but same belief. And here is the belief that I want to challenge today, because the belief is My body can wait. My health can wait. I have important things to do. I'll get to that later. So if I'm going to hold up a mirror for you today, this is what I'm holding up. Later always comes. You're right. And it usually comes as a crisis. And I've heard of people having sudden heart attacks, people being diagnosed with cancer, people getting diabetes, people having to be shaken to start taking care of their health. And I'm not trying to lecture, but because I understand these stories because I've lived my own. And I'll tell you just a little bit about my own journey when it comes to health and fitness. And I see this as a big focus because I think health is wealth. I mean, and that sounds trite, but it's true. Health is the most important thing that we can focus on. So let's just talk about the weight thing first, because that seems to be a big thing um, that women especially are socialized with. So as a little girl, I was a pretty thin little girl. I didn't have any weight problems. And then puberty came. And suddenly I noticed, whoa, like a dime, I could gain weight. I mean, I could look at something. I looked at a donut and I would gain weight. I was still normal, healthy weight. But as a teenager, I didn't believe normal was good enough. So I starved myself. I went on all these fad diets, trying to give or take a couple pounds, which I really didn't need to lose. But there was this thing about having to be perfect. And that was a very unhealthy way to look at weight. And when I went to college and I gained a few pounds, I actually gained the freshman 10. Oh my gosh, it sent me off into a disaster. I was on every crash diet on the planet. I mean, all of the stuff that you should not do. And then the deeper wake up call. So I was always on this thing of losing weight, trying all the diets, and I kept my weight at a healthy weight, but not in a very healthy way, I guess I would say. Every diet that you've ever heard of, I've been on. I know. And they were successful because I really didn't eat that much. But the deeper wake up call came, and I've talked about this before on the show, when my father died and was diagnosed with cancer at age 60. And it wasn't really about the cause of his death. What shook me in that moment, because he was young, I was young, it was about the reality of how fragile and finite life really is. And it's all, if something happens to our body, which is what happened to him because he got cancer, it's over. It's over. And, that shifted everything for me. So it took my focus away from health is about looking a certain way to take care of this one container you've been given, because this is it, folks. And not everything is in our control. I understand that. I mean, we can't control everything, but what we can control and what we can take care of, darn, shame on us if we're not doing that. And so here's some things that I've learned, and I've learned in this journey of the health and fitness. Become certified. I actually took a 6-month program on wellness and well-being, and I got certified by the Board of Medical Examiners on health and fitness and wellness, because I thought I really want to learn as much as possible. And I've been reading about health and fitness since. And here's what nobody tells you when you're young. Your body keeps changing. And so what works in your 30s and what worked in my 30s didn't work in my 40s. And what worked in my 40s, so all these, diets and things I was on, forget it. When I turned 50, it was game over, everything changed. And nobody tells you this. And so that's a really important thing to keep in mind, is that our bodies are constantly changing. When I turned 50, my cholesterol spiked. Even though I was eating the same healthy foods, because I was really into health, that I always had, Foods that used to keep my cholesterol number at 180 suddenly pushed me into like this craziness. I don't know. I think my cholesterol went up to 230 at one point. And I know the good and bad cholesterol, but trust me, it was not good. So I learned the hard way that even these healthy fats that I was eating, the nut butters, the oils, they were too much for my body at this moment in time in my container's journey. And so that's when it hit me. And this is what I want to convey to all of you. Taking care of your body is not a formula. It's not a one-time formula. It's not one size fits all. It's not find the right plan and stick with it. It's an attunement. It's asking yourself, what does my body need now? It's constantly taking care of yourself because the answer keeps changing. So those of us who like this efficient thing, well, I'm only going to eat keto and I'm only going to eat this. I don't think that that's efficient. But here's the most important thing. Whatever it is you're going to do, don't say, I don't have time. What we really mean when we say that is, I don't want to deal with this right now. I'm dealing with 100 other things. I have all these other priorities, and this right now, I don't want to deal with. And the truth we avoid is the time we save today by taking care of this will double tomorrow in energy crashes, in weight gain, in not feeling well, in doctor's visits. And then, God forbid, in an illness that stops you in your tracks and says, okay, you're going to take care of this now. I don't care. You're going to drop everything else you're doing and you're going to take care of this now. And for high achievers, which is probably everybody listening to this or most of you listening to this, here's the trap we fall into. And I want to nail this into our brains. We worship our minds. We think our brilliance is what keeps us in the game. We think what we keep doing is what keeps us in the game. And we forget that the health of our body is what makes that brilliance possible. This is not a lecture. I'm serious. You can't drag your body behind you. Eventually, it's going to say, enough, I've had enough, I'm tired, I'm worn out, I'm done. Think of it like this. Your inner self, your soul, your essence is the jewel. But your body is the jewelry box that protects and carries it. And so if the box is neglected, if it's broken, if it's falling apart, if you're just not paying attention to the box, the jewel doesn't get anywhere and it doesn't get where it's meant to go because it can't get there without the box. Here's what I've learned in my own life and in the lives of people I coach. And so many people talk about this. Taking care of your body has to be personal, it has to be seasonal, and it has to be sustainable. Personal is that what works for you may not work for me. Seasonal is your needs will shift as your body, hormones, and metabolism shift. So you got to listen and meet the needs. And then sustainable. Extreme plans, I'm telling you, I hear people who are like, I'm going to exercise every day and I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to just never eat sugar again. I'm never going to do that. They don't last. They just don't last. That is not going to last. What matters is what you can keep showing up for. So, all right. So I'm giving you something to think about because I think this topic today, I just wanted to put it in our faces because I think it is part of the inner edge, is how healthy we are and how vibrant we are and how much energy we have. So instead of giving you a to-do list, I'm going to give you 3 invitations today. And this is an invitation between you and yourself and your body, your container. The first invitation is to check in with yourself and do this daily. What are you feeling? What does your body need? Sometimes it's movement. Sometimes it's rest. Sometimes it's water. Sometimes it's, hey, I just need a treat. All right. But just check into that. Then the second invitation I'd give you is to name your defaults. When you're stressed, what do you reach for? Because stress is where a lot of our problems start. Do you reach for food? Do you reach for alcohol? Do you reach for overwork? Like just keep doing, keep doing, keep doing? Being aware of what you reach for is the first step to choice. So being aware of, okay, wait a minute, this is a habit. I know my default is sweets. I mean, I'll default to sweet. I'll default to I had a really bad day. I need a piece of chocolate cake, or I need chocolate, or I need something like that. And that's okay once in a while, but that is not going to be a healthy habit if every time I'm overworked, stressed, I reach, because that's often. So if I'm reaching for the piece of chocolate cake every single day, forget the weight. Okay. So I can manage the weight. But the problem is that is not going to help my cholesterol. It's not going to help my overall health, the fat intake, diabetes. I mean, I can keep going. So knowing that, okay, that's my default. And then the third invitation is upgrade. Upgrade one thing. So switch one of the defaults. Not everything, just one. A swap. Add it. Add something. Say, okay, instead of having that piece of chocolate cake, I'm going to have grapes, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to do something different. Just one thing. That's one rep. And then build from there. So I'm not here to tell you, I'm not trying to give you advice. I'm trying to have a conversation about awareness and making ourselves a priority. So starting small, starting with upgrading these habits that overwhelm us and that make us say, hey, my health is the last priority. Taking care of your earthly container is not optional. It's not a luxury. It's not the last priority. It's the foundation of everything else. Because when our containers break down, our health, everything else, your dreams, your goals, your job, your relationships, everything, your mobility gets limited by that breakdown. It's not about control. It's about partnership, being in partnership with your own health. Your body isn't an obstacle. It's not like, okay, oh, I have to deal with that. It's a vehicle. It's a vehicle for our lives. So let me leave you with this. I'm really adamant about this because this is so, so important. I just see this and I hear it every day. So that's why I'm like harping on this. If your body could speak to you right now without you silencing it or rationalizing it away, what would it say? And what's one thing you can do today, not someday, today, not after your next project wraps, not after you're finished with that proposal, not after you get through the next month. What can you do today to respond to your need to be healthy? Because this one container gives you the privilege of moving, of connecting, of building, and of creating. Don't wait for it to fail before you finally take care of it. If this conversation resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts and your story. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, here on YouTube, and you can write in comments. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss an episode of this Inner Edge, because this is the inner edge. Take care of your body. Take care of that container. It's the only one we've got.